A lot of people online say you're a pervert. What do you say to that?
I'm a pervert. Courtney is
whore.
a whore, and other. It's, you know what? It's people are welcome to their opinions. That's what the world is about. If they need to feel this way, that's theirs to hold, not ours.
Something that was so interesting that you recently mentioned is that during your marriage to Doug, you felt like you were in a conservatorship in some ways.
I was married into a conservatorship. That's how it completely felt. I mean, I couldn't sign my name on anything. I couldn't sign a legal document. I couldn't really leave the house by myself.
The story of Courtney Stodden is one that has always captivated me when I first heard about it. Courtney married a 51-year-old named Doug Hutchison in 2011. She was 16 at the time. Doug Hutchison had started in a couple of movie roles, right? Green Mile, more notably. And at the age of 16, Courtney was groomed by Doug Hutchinson. Now, of course, Courtney can now recognize that the behavior that Doug was doing is called grooming.
I'm just grateful to myself now that I'm able to realize it for what it is. It was grooming and emotional abuse.
People didn't realize that until Courtney went through her own healing journey of recognizing what this relationship with Doug really was. She can now openly speak and talk about that this was a grooming situation. And he'd been grooming after the divorce as well. But before we even get there, let me tell you a little bit about Courtney. Courtney was born August 29th of 1994 in Tacoma, Washington, to her parents, Krista Keller and Alex Stodden. Courtney has two sisters as well. Courtney describes her childhood as beautiful and fun, stating that they were extremely spoiled in a good way. From a very young age, Courtney said that she had a really big passion for singing and writing her own music. Courtney's career started between 2009 and 2014 when she began modeling as a young girl. Courtney was crowned Miss Ocean Shores in Donald Trump's Teen USA when she was 15, and soon began to compose and record her own music, vlogging her life on YouTube. But it wasn't until she was 16 that really Courtney caught the attention of everybody. In large part, it was because she married a much older man, the Green Mile actor by the name of Doug Hutchison. What is so disturbing about Courtney's story, and I think that many people would agree, I think we all saw in the media and the public really let this grown man take advantage of the 16-year-old Courtney. She had her parents' blessing to marry. Now, some of you guys might say, well, in some states, you're allowed to marry at 16. And although that is true in some states, well, Courtney met Doug Hutchison online. And she has publicly talked about the fact that he groomed her online at that age. So because they couldn't marry in California, that would mean that you would be held accountable, right? 16, 50 plus year old talking to a 16-year-old, grooming her. So how they got about that is they actually got married in Las Vegas. She wasn't old enough to drink, but she was old enough to get married. All right. Now, some apologists will say, well, in some states, in some countries, 16 is okay. You could be 27 and talk to a 16-year-old. You could be 27 and maybe do things with a 16-year-old because in some states, it's okay. And although the laws are written how they are, we're not trying to go back and forth on that. What we have to point out, something that separates the law, right, from what's science. At the age of 16, there's this thing that we have in our brain, right? It's called the prefrontal cortex. And that, my friends, is responsible for our thinking and our decision making. At the age of 16, we're still teenagers, right? That hasn't been all the way developed. It's still working towards maturity. And if the brain is developing the way that it needs to, with time, you will improve your cognitive skills and decision making. Now, of course, that's also considering the fact that there are no other, factors like trauma in your history, or maybe alcohol abuse or drug abuse during prenatal time. All of these things matter, right? But the prefrontal cortex is still developing at the age of 16. And a lot of teenagers depend on the amygdala, to make decisions and solve problems more than adults do at the age of 16. And again, the amygdala is associated with our emotions, our impulses, our aggressions, our instinctive behavior. So can you imagine a young 16-year-old girl meeting a 51-year-old who, is famous, right? He was right next to Tom Hanks and whatnot, did a couple movies here and there, has a following, 16 years old, and is presented with this opportunity. 16 years old, right? And she's talking to this much older man, maybe not understanding the gravity of the situation. And he starts grooming her. And she receives permission by her parents to get married in Vegas, right? Because they can't marry in California. Nobody files charges. Nobody sees this as a form of child abuse, as a form of neglect on behalf of the parents. Nobody sees this as anything but a normal situation. You know what is so scary about the Courtney Stodden story, in my opinion? Some people will not understand the implications of child abuse here, right? That you have parents that are consenting for their 16-year-old, 15-year-old, or whatever the age may be, to marry a 51-year-old and not seeing the issue with it. And it almost made me wonder if Courtney's parents had somehow been paid one way or another, right? Here you have this man who had been divorced before by the name of Doug Hutchison. He meets the 16-year-old, does a couple of interviews, they both do, and they see an opportunity for a possible reality TV show. Doesn't this give just the impression that he not only was perpetrating on her, in my opinion, but also using her to exploit her for his next come up? A controversial show where you have a 51-year-old and a 16-year-old somehow in love, and we're watching all of this play out, right? All of it.
What do you have in common?
What do we have in common?
We laugh.
Of course, they also have a common interest in show business. And in an era of low-rent fame where controversy can be as marketable as actual talent, it should come as no surprise that the couple is in fact considering offers from reality television producers.
What do you say to that, to people who think this is all a publicity stunt?
We knew this was going to happen. We knew we were going to have to weather the repercussions of our decision and our union. And this is just the beginning. And it brought us closer together.
Do you think marrying Doug will help your career?
If it does, that's just another beautiful blessing that God hands to me. But if I'm just with him for the rest of my life and supporting him, that would make me happy too.
Now, on March 3rd, 2020, Courtney wrote on her IG page, "It's March 3rd, 2020. Today I'm officially divorced from actor Doug Hutchison. It's an emotional day for me. God only knows how he's feeling, but I can tell you that it's for the better. I look back at this picture and feel absolutely taken advantage of. I've been scared to even speak up about feeling groomed or being verbally abused during the almost 10-year marriage because I was a child and he was 50 when we married. But I'm a woman now, and it's time for me to put my big girl pants on and speak on this matter. I felt completely trapped, manipulated, and at times abandoned by adults growing up in such an environment. It became a lonely and dark place. Stay tuned for a book. And to Doug, I'll always love you, yet I'll always be angry. You've left me, a child woman, feeling belittled and confused. These things I shall overcome. I wish you well. but please don't ever do this to another minor again. It's not right. Even if the parents signed off, wait a respectable amount of time before marrying. Children aren't on your level. I'll always love you, regardless. Be better, as shall I. Okay. So this was posted again March 3rd, 2020. But another post that Courtney recently posted on her IG is one that is very concerning to me, okay? And it reads, Doug Hutchison has to be stopped. I initially never wanted to post about this because I felt scared and embarrassed about everything, but I've realized that this whole situation is bigger than me and I needed to be strong if I want him to be stopped. Doug Hutchison has groomed and mentally abused multiple young girls, including me. He told me that he loved me, that I was beautiful, sexy, and smart. I was 15 years old. He was 60. I was blind by his words to see his mission was only ever to seek out minors. Please spread this message. I can't let this happen to another innocent girl. So this was a post that Courtney shared, and she wrote, I have to take a moment to appreciate Kyra Beck. She's an absolute powerhouse. For such a young age, she made the brave decision to stand up against what was wrong, and she never looked back. She's a true survivor, and her strength is nothing short of inspiring. I'm so proud of how far she's come and how she's thriving now. I'll always be here speaking up and supporting her because she deserves nothing but the best. Keep shining, Kyra. The world is a better place because of you. Doug Hutchison is literally going around, I guess, trying to talk to young girls, grooming them. And I'm just wondering, like, where are the charges for this, right? Because that's what should happen, in my opinion. In Courtney's situation, her father signed off for her to get married. I mean, he gave her away at the altar. Courtney shared that, the relationship with her father hasn't been the best. Absolutely. That she's still healing from the fact that, her father gave her away to this 51-year-old man at that time. And I would imagine that would take years to heal from, right? But then you had the likes of her mother, who started on a reality TV show with Courtney. And it was the most bizarre thing to know that your mother had a thing for your husband.
She began behind my back, trying to steal my husband away from me. She took his hand and said,
Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like Natalie Nunn's face was like, because that's a major no-no, right? Like, first of all, you gave this child away to this 51-year-old man to do whatever the hell he wants to do with her, married her off, and then she's in her mind thinking, well, that's my husband, right? Imagine your own mother hitting on your husband or propositioning herself in the way in which she is holding his hand, prompting to be like a caretaker of your husband, or telling your husband that she's in love with him while she's like with her father, or in any magnitude. This situation is just completely off. Damn, she had some shitty ass parents. Like, this is a shitty ass parent moment, as if giving her away to a 51-year-old man wasn't shitty enough. Signing all that off, at least that wasn't shitty enough. No, you had to have the woman who birthed you then hit on your husband. Like, it's so weird.
I don't know what to do, but I'm in love with you.
Mother would do that to her daughter.
I
to
didn't
fall in love
I
with
did
her
not
own
fall in love with your
husband.
husband.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
And we confronted you on it, and you look like a deer in headlights.
She basically tried to take her husband away, and it's so off to even watch this clip. I mean, watching this, I just can't imagine being able to continue a relationship with my mother if that's what she had done. I mean, when this story first hit, everybody was making fun of Courtney. Okay. You had the delusional, drunk Chrissy Teigen, and that's my opinion. Okay. Because, and I would think you'd have to be drunk, right? Because Chrissy Teigen was literally sending these crazy messages to Courtney, basically bullying her. Chrissy Teigen has had a very problematic past. Some of it might have to do with alcohol. It's been said, but something about attacking kids online, right? This is when Chrissy apparently was going after and bullying Courtney when she was 16 years old. So again, 16-year-old married a 51-year-old. And Chrissy was also like messaging her, telling her, that she needs to commit suicide. She needs a dirt nap. But people didn't really see Courtney as a child. Please keep that in mind. So for Chrissy Teigen, she felt like Courtney was fair game. She was relentlessly bullying her. I mean, I could just show you these messages that are just sick. Okay? And even as of recent, Courtney has talked about the relentless bullying. What set Chrissy Teigen off? Can you imagine if Chrissy Teigen wasn't such an asshole to Courtney, right? If she had actually taken the opportunity, when she was messaging her to see if she was okay, because Courtney had shared that she picked up, drinking during the time that she was with Doug as a way to cope because she was like basically caged up in a situation where she couldn't really do a whole lot to fend for herself, right? If Chrissy would have been in the mindset of this girl isn't fair game, this girl really needs help, and I could be a support to her, but no, instead, she was a complete asshole to her, completely bullying her with messages and telling her that she needed to end her life, a bunch of things that you would never expect an adult woman to do to a child. But the thing is that people didn't really see Courtney as a child. They didn't. This is a bizarre thing. People felt like she was fake, her body was fake, that she had gotten some kind of a boob job. She kind of gave the impression of being like this Playboy model type of personality when she was just very young. She would do these facial expressions around Doug Hutchison that kind of gave you the impression that consent was okay, even though she's a child and children can't consent. It was just a bizarre thing. And it's interesting that it's the media, society, her own parents, people around her that didn't think, well, damn, this probably warranted a referral to like the Department of Children and Family Services or something to that effect. They allow this woman be abused. And I remember watching the earlier on interviews and thinking in my mind, I don't think this is going to age well for this girl. Simply because she was 16. And when you're 16, you're just a child. You're not all the way there. But this man saw her as an object and as an opportunity. I think a lot of people did to a certain degree, even her own parents. Courtney did a special with News Impact Nightline, right? And it's called Confessions of a Child Bride, Courtney Stodden Story. Now, in here, she really kind of details what happened to her throughout her marriage with Doug, as well as kind of like how it all led up to where she's at right now. And she's currently speaking out against underage marriages and talks about how she was groomed. And I love that she openly talks about grooming, because this is the piece where a lot of people skip over. Like they act like, well, this girl wanted to do this and her parents signed off. No, there's more to this. And until we can really truly understand the impact of child grooming and predators online, which in my opinion, I think that's what Doug did. He preyed on her online, and allegedly is probably still doing things like this. It's disgusting, but I am really happy that Courtney is speaking out and that she's bringing awareness to this, because it needs to be brought up to the forefront completely. Please note that at the age of 16, like, we're just not there. We're not developed. Kids aren't. They shouldn't have to make life-altering decisions at that time. And if the parents, like her parents, did not step up to the plate, then I think it's really everybody's responsibility, right? All the adults around, to really figure things out, to come together, not be a Chrissy Teigen or any of these, Hollywood people, but really as a society and community and say, hey, are you okay? She got a lot of backlash. She got called all kinds of names over this, but she was just a misguided girl that didn't have the love and support at home and was easily groomed by a 51-year-old who took a lot from her. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.